Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy Deluxe class Stunticon Wildrider, our second Stunticon to be released as part of the upcoming Combiner Menasor. And I've got to be honest and say that of all of the Wave 2 Legacy releases that I've reviewed and have left to review over on the channel, this guy is sadly my least favourite out of them all. I just think in terms of the design there are some things of which I personally am not a huge fan of, and in regards to kind of the enjoyability aspect, I really just don't think this figure here is fun to handle at all. I just don't like the shape of the elbows. I find the indented ratchet joints in the knees to be a major turn off, and the back kibble is definitely something of which personally I am not a big fan of at all. Now I completely understand as to why the design team did break it up this way just to give it a slightly more transformed look, but if anything I kind of find it to be over-engineered and would have much rather had it just been a solid block. Now there are a few things you can do with it which I'll touch base with in just a second, but one of my biggest issues with it would be kind of here from the front on perspective. You can see that we've just got these really bizarre wheels hanging down from the back, which is not accurate to the character model. When you're actually handling this guy, all of this kibble does just appear to get in the way and nothing really tabs in, meaning that it just kind of flops about and feels a little untidy and a bit of a mess. So personally what I like to do is mistransform it back into its vehicle mode configuration, and like this, as a solid backpack, I think this looks so much better, not only from the back but also here from the front perspective. It literally alters the entire look of the figure in my opinion, and for the better. I'd love to know down in the comment section below what you guys think. Do you guys prefer the original official transformation or this almost fan mode? As at least for me, this is definitely how I'll be keeping this guy on the shelf until we do eventually get Menasor himself. But as we take a closer look here at some of the details, I really do think the head sculpt is one of the major redeeming aspects about this guy. It looks fantastic and it is undeniably the best looking sculpt that we've seen officially produced for this character so far. You can see the red used for the face looks awesome. The sculpt work has turned out great. For whatever reason, they've decided to go with that mix of transparent light piping and painting the eyes, and usually that works, but this time the eyes have been painted in kind of a metallic silver, so why we've got some red light piping here at the back is a little beyond me. But nevertheless, you can see here for the entire chest panel, I think that looks great with some nice metallic silver and blue. The sculpt work looks awesome. I'm not a big fan of these screws facing forwards. I definitely think there was a way to either conceal those or maybe actually reverse those so that they were implemented into the back of the figure. But as we take a look here at the arms, you can see some really nice paint apps going along the side with some really cool detailing. The design here from the front perspective actually looks pretty decent, but as we kind of take a look here at the inside, you can see lots of hollow spaces, and I do not like the way this elbow cut has been created at all. When you actually handle this guy, it's going to sound like I'm nitpicking massively, but until you actually get this figure in hand, you won't know what I'm talking about. These edges are actually quite spiky and the elbow joints are incredibly stiff, so just to kind of manipulate the elbows, and especially during transformation, it definitely just can be a little bit more of a hassle than personally I would like. But as we just take a look here down to the legs, you can see some decent sculpt work here for the thighs as well as for the front section here of the shins. And as we take a look here at the back, minus this big backpack, he actually cleans up pretty decently. Now articulation wise, Wildrider does have a swivel joint here at the head which can rotate left to right. We do get a rotation here at the shoulders which I guess could rotate the full 360, as well as hinge out to the sides, rotation at the bicep. As mentioned previously, we do get an elbow joint which can bend roughly to 90, no form of wrist rotation, and I definitely think that was something they could have found a way to have done. Here at the waist we do get a full rotation. The hips can kick forwards that far, back to that far, out to the sides, rotation here at the thigh, and for whatever reason the knees are on indented ratchet joints, which is really bizarre. Not entirely sure as to why this is, and once again just makes posing him a little bit more of a hassle. You kind of have to really bend these knees to find that sweet spot, and I personally would have much rather had these just been on a normal pin joint like drag strip. But here at the foot this can pivot forwards and backwards due to transformation as well as rock side to side. So overall, in terms of the robot mode, whilst from a front on perspective it looks great, especially if you mistransform the backpack, I just think kind of handling him just is not the best in my opinion. Now accessory wise, you guys may have seen that he does come with some of these dual energon infused blasters. They look fantastic. I actually thought they were the exact same sculpt as what we saw with drag strip, but no, they are completely different, just very similar in terms of design. And you can see here for kind of this metallic silver, it's been given a lovely purple hue just to give you that energon infused look. And I think the sculpt work looks great. You can put them into the hand individually or actually combine them, which I think looks pretty decent, and then give them to him as this massive dual blaster. And here for a Stunticon comparison, we have Dragstrip, which came out as part of the first wave, and if I were to be honest, I think these guys look great with one another. The entire Stunticon lineup is no doubt going to look fantastic once fully completed, and of course, if you do plan to finish Menasor in its entirety, then you are going to have to pick up Wildrider. But if I were to be 100% honest, if you're not going to be going all in on these Stunticons and you're not massively concerned about picking up all of the components, then I would definitely wait for Wildrider here to either go on clearance or maybe just not picking him up at all. I definitely don't think he is nowhere near as good and as enjoyable as the likes of Dragstrip, and I'm really hoping that the final 2 Deluxe Stunticons that are left to be released do follow in the footsteps here of Dragstrip, as if they are like Wildrider, then I think overall as individual robots, this is definitely not going to live up to the expectations set by the Studio Series Devastator. And so now for transformation, it's actually quite straightforward. So to begin with, of course, if you had the backpack configured officially, you'd have to just tidy it up as demonstrated towards the beginning act of the review, and once that was completed, we'd turn our attention here to the front, pull the torso plate forward, and then just fold the head in and snap that there into place. You'll then want to fold the fists into these cavities and then straighten out the elbows, which once again, due to the sharp edges, can actually be quite troublesome, and especially considering how tight these hinge joints are. But just snap that there into place, and of course repeat the exact same process here for this side. So just snap this side in as well. What you'll then want to do is rotate here at the waist so that the front is now facing the back. Turn your attention to said back and just hinge out the front shin guards. Fold up the feet until these ports do actually tab into these sections, and then I would not recommend combining personally just yet, as the ratchet joints that you'll actually have to fold in are super stiff. You'll then want to take this front section of the vehicle mode and just pull this forwards, but not yet tab it in, and then take this windscreen and just kind of lift it up to allow for some additional clearance. Take these sections here and ratchet them all the way in, and then just snap that in like so. Of course, come here to this side and repeat the exact same process. So fold that in. Now we can tab the 2 halves together and shoot this here into the top roof piece. Now what you'll want to do is bring the arms to the sides, snap them there into place, and of course repeat the same process. Take the front hood and ensure that it does tuck underneath this transparent section, which then in itself should just snap into place like so. And then for some finishing touches, bring down the windscreen, snap that into place, and there we have Wildrider fully transformed up into his pretty decent looking Stunticon alt mode. And out of the 2 modes, I really do think, at least in my opinion, this is by far the better. You can see the detailing is actually pretty decent, and I love the way this transparent red plastic has turned out here for the windscreen as well as for these side windows. And you can see we've got this really nice red strip which goes all the way throughout the vehicle mode, even here towards the front bumper section. I think the sculpt work here for the front looks fantastic. Really nice metallic silver rims here for the wheels. Sadly, this one does look slightly ugly due to the mushroom peg, but even from a front perspective, I don't think it looks too bad at all. We've got the Decepticon insignia, and here at the back, once more, we've got some pretty nice looking sculpt work. Now, for a very quick comparison, here we have a Wildrider compared alongside the Deluxe Legacy Dragstrip, and I really do think that these guys in particular look fantastic in their alt modes. And you can see Dragstrip is ever so slightly bigger to the top section here of the vehicle mode when in comparison to Wildrider, but trust me, it is just a very small smidge. And as we just flip here to the underside, just so we can see how he conceals, not looking too bad at all. Now, this guy does, of course, have a 3rd alt mode, that being the combined form. Now, in order to get to this, basically, you just want to loosen up this windscreen, pop this section forward, take this front hood section, hinge this down, and that there is the combined mode. So as you can see, a very simplistic transformation, and then of course these pegs and ports will just snap into the back section of Menasor once we get this guy. And in regards to some weapon storage, you'll take the blasters, snap them here into the top section of the vehicle mode, So definitely a pretty simplistic transformation, and definitely is going to be really effective once we do get Motormaster. And so, some final thoughts for this Transformers Legacy Deluxe class Wildrider. Overall, it's a pretty average figure to say the least, unless you are a diehard completionist of all of the Stunticons and truly want to max out your Menasor, then personally I would either wait for this guy to go on clearance or perhaps just not pick him up at all. I think in regards to robot mode, there are definitely some issues that I have, most noticeably would be in regards to the backpack. I think it's been slightly over-engineered. Now, I completely understand as to why they wanted to break it up into 3 components. Had it just been one solid piece on the back, many fans, myself included, probably would have complained about it being a shelf former, but I think the finished result just doesn't look great. Those wheels sticking out to the side don't match the original character model, and to be honest, just create for a rather untidy and unfinished look. I think the design of the robot mode from a front perspective looks pretty decent if you do decide to mistransform that backpack. I think the head sculpt looks great. The chest piece looks pretty decent, although I'm not a big fan of those screw holes just facing forwards. That's something that I haven't seen on a mainline release that predominant for a very, very long time. And just in regards to the articulation, I don't understand why the knees are indented ratchets, and I also don't understand as to why those hinge joints in the elbows are so damn tight, and considering that there are a lot of sharp edges, it can just make handling him a big hassle. Transformation is simplistic enough. It does result in a very nice looking vehicle mode, which out of the 2 modes I definitely think is the superior, and the combined mode is very simple yet very effective to get to, and will no doubt really make Menasor look like a force to be reckoned with once combined. So once more, if you're a big fan of these Stunticons, then you're going to have to add this guy to the collection, but out of all of the Legacy Wave 2 characters that are currently out there, I really don't think that he should be top of your list. I thank you guys all so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below on both the figure and the review, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.